Over the last 24 hours, Queen Elizabeth's death has been mourned all over the globe. But alongside that grief have been complex feelings of anger, frustration, and resentment. And that's because the Queen's tenure was viewed by many as a symbol of the British colonial empire, an institution that enriched itself through brutal violence, torture, land theft, rape, and slavery. A New York Times op-ed titled "Mourn the Queen, Not Her Empire," which we mentioned earlier, offers really important historical context. In 1952, the governor of Kenya imposed a state of emergency to suppress an anti-colonial movement under which the British rounded up tens of thousands of Kenyans into detention camps and subjected them to torture. In Cyprus in 1955 and Yemen in 1963, British governors again declared states of emergency to fend off anti-colonial attacks, and again, they tortured civilians. Pair that history with the monarchy's role in the transatlantic slave trade, and you can start to understand why Barbados last year removed the Queen as its head of state, and why other Commonwealth realms like Jamaica have suggested they'll soon follow suit. Joining us now, Basil Smikle. He's the director of public policy at Hunter College and is the son of Jamaican immigrants. So you're the perfect person to talk to in this particular moment. I mean, we've been talking throughout the course of today about this nuanced conversation. And, you know, as the son of Jamaican immigrants, I would also say that there may be somewhat of a generational divide between how your parents and maybe even your grandparents feel and how you and your children feel. So we spoke recently about what happened with Barbados being like, yeah, nah, you're not our queen. Speak to the conversation that's happening right now about the legacy of Queen Elizabeth II and colonization, along with the fact that Barbados and Jamaica are saying, yeah, we kind of want to be independent now, thanks.
Yeah, this is a big conversation about monarchies in general. When you think about what King Leopold did in Africa, that the Spanish actually were in Jamaica before the British were, and we know about the history of the French and Haiti. So, you know, in thinking about the British monarchy, you have to think about its legacy, its violent legacy. You have to think about its brutality, and its brutality wasn't just physical; it was social, cultural, economic, political, even environmental. And you have to also consider how pervasive that legacy has been in our lives. It affects the language that we speak, the food that we eat, and even the ways in which we worship. My parents are Jamaican. I was baptized in Jamaica as an Anglican, the Church of England. So the monarch is actually head of my church. And so when the Queen died, and I called my cousins in England to talk to them about it, a lot of this came up, as well as, you know, concerns over their anger about the way Meghan was treated, right? And so on the one hand, there is this collective sense from them about the loss of the head of state, but also an actual realization about how people that look like us, how folks that the diaspora has been treated by that very same monarchy. Queen Elizabeth, towards the end, was trying to shed some of those imperialistic ties and create more of a commonwealth of nations. But we saw then, and King Charles will see significantly, I believe, when as he takes over, that many of those commonwealths are asserting an opportunity to reclaim their identity. And you saw that with Barbados, you're seeing it with Jamaica, and many others have followed and will continue to do so.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what happens next. One of the things I was checking out last night, I don't know if you saw, Black Twitter on Thursday was on fire. And then I discovered that there is an Irish Twitter. You probably saw a lot of funny and you know, honestly savage tweets. I mean, we're talking about a person who has passed away, but in some ways she's not a person. That's sort of the point of this whole conversation, is that she is a part of the monarchy, which makes her above humans. That's actually, by definition, what we're talking about here. So speak to this idea that the Irish people who are of Indian descent, Pakistani descent, in the African diaspora, the continent of Africa, in the Caribbean, that the humor is really, it reflects a generational trauma that we've all experienced. That's why we're making jokes, because it's real pain that is underneath that.
Yeah, you talked about family and generational changes earlier. You know, my parents remember when they were children and she and Elizabeth was queen and visited the islands, that they had to come out from their schools to stand along the side of the road, wear fancy dresses and wave flags to wish her well in her path. But they also cheered when Jamaica gained its independence in 1962. They were angry at the Windrush generation, where you had mostly Jamaicans and Indians going to England after World War II to help rebuild, with the promise of being fully integrated as citizens into the United Kingdom, and were refused and neglected. And so only now we're starting to really learn more about the impact of that decision, those decisions on that generation. So what's important to note is that even as the legacy for an older generation is certainly mixed in terms of both their lives under British rule and their celebration of their independence, a younger generation, my generation and beyond, we have theologians, we have historians, we have other academicians that can go out and do the work to help us reclaim our identities. And that's the important generational shift that I think is taking place.
Basil Smikle, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so happy that we were able to have these nuanced and mature conversations throughout this show in the aftermath of the Queen's passing. So thank you again for being here. Hi, I'm Zerlina Maxwell. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more from Zerlina by clicking any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thanks for watching.